Most people lose focus after a while, even if they're working on the things that they love. When they lose motivation, they think, maybe I need more coffee, better time management, more self-discipline tactics to get me back on track. That's what most people do when they feel like slacking off. In The Power of Full Engagement, Tony Schwartz and Jim Loehr introduced a whole new perspective on the concept of time management. They said, look, if you're living your life totally energized and suddenly you start procrastinating for no reason, that doesn't mean that you need to watch more motivational videos. It just means that you're not managing your energy levels efficiently. Full engagement requires drawing on 4 separate but related sources of energies: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Flavius Philostratus was the first to present the idea of periodization in Greek sports. It is known today as oscillation. Oscillation is the act of expanding and contracting. We're going to apply oscillation on all 4 levels of energies to see how we can recover and expand energy capacity and therefore experience the power of full engagement. Let's start off with recovery. Physical energy can be renewed in many ways, but the first essential fuel is oxygen. Few of us think about breathing. Oxygen becomes precious only in those rare instances where we can't get enough, like choking on a piece of food or drowning in the ocean. In our digital age, people are running with to-do lists and reminders. We live in a world where work never ends. The result is a lot of stress, anger, and anxiety, which prompts faster and shallower breathing. Even significant changes in our pattern of breathing tend to go unnoticed. Meditation is one of the best practices you can use to get in touch with your inner issues and your breathing rhythm. 10 minutes of breathing meditation a day will not only help with fixing your shallow breath, it will boost your overall mood if you do it on a daily basis. The breath is probably the most undervalued tools for self-regulation. Also, sleep is as important as oxygen for physical energy recovery. Sleep deprivation has a significant impact on your health. Studies have shown that mental performance, reaction time, concentration, memory, and logical analytical reasoning all decline steadily as sleep deprivation increases. So, if you're not getting at least 7 hours of sleep a night, you're clearly not recovering much because you're skipping out on what we call the deep sleep cycle. You see, during those periods where slow wave delta brainwaves are dominant, we enter a state called deep sleep. This is the deepest period of recovery. This is where cell division is most active, repair enzymes are released, and muscles that have been stressed out during the day have an opportunity to recover. Sleep and oxygen are the most essential sources for physical capacity renewal. If I get sick, for example, I'm not gonna take pills right away. I'm gonna sit down for 5 minutes and reflect on the things that I did to my body that got me sick. Maybe I'm not sleeping enough. Maybe I'm eating junk food. Or maybe I haven't seen sunlight for 3 months. Mental energy recovery. In most work environments, we tend to reward those who work longer hours, underrating the people who take regular breaks. The most important mental channels are concentration, creativity, realistic optimism, and appropriate focus. If we don't take regular breaks from work or while working, we won't be able to access these mental abilities more efficiently. Let's take creativity as an example. The neurosurgeon Roger Sperry discovered that the 2 hemispheres of the brain have fundamentally different ways of processing information. The left hemisphere is the seat of language and operates in a sequential, step-by-step, time-conscious way, arriving at conclusions based on logical deductions. The right hemisphere, however, is more inclined to solve problems by intuitive leap and sudden insight. The right hemisphere is less linear and time-focused than the left hemisphere. This explains why our best ideas often occur when we seem not to be consciously seeking solutions. As you can see, intermittent right hemisphere dominance seems to provide a powerful form of recovery from the rational, analytical left hemisphere mode that occupies most of our time at work. In her books, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain and Drawing on the Artist Within, Professor Betty Edwards adds on saying that the creative work occurs largely at an unconscious level, and often after the left hemisphere's conscious, rational search for a solution has been exhausted. In short, the highest form of creativity depends on a rhythmic movement between engagement and disengagement, thinking and letting go, activity and rest. Both sides of the equation are necessary, but neither is sufficient by itself. If you find that you're constantly stressing yourself to finish a project faster, I think it's time for you to take a break and drift off. It is a very good plan every now and then to go away and have a little relaxation. When you come back to work, your judgment will be surer, since to remain constantly at work will cause you to lose the power of judgment. Leonardo da Vinci. For emotional energy renewal, the most important part is the quality of activities that you use to recharge. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, author of Flow, have found that prolonged television watching is actually correlated with increased anxiety and low-level depression. Try to find high-quality activities that work for you. Ask yourself, when was the last time I truly let go and felt fully disconnected? In my case, for example, working on a YouTube channel is fun because you're doing what you love, but it gets stressful sometimes. So when I'm bored working on this channel, I pick up my guitar. I go on a walk in the woods, or I go meet positive friends that I can joke around with. Other times, it's not about choosing the right activities to recover emotionally. Sometimes you just feel irritated, even if you're hanging out with positive people. That's a retreat signal from your brain, telling you that you need some time alone to reflect on your life, your purpose, or simply to relax. I'm not talking about meditation here. Reflecting is simply lying down in bed, no TV, no computer, nothing. Not thinking much, just relaxing. Irritation tend to go unnoticed because we're constantly worrying about doing the next thing and the next thing, afraid that we're gonna lose work ethic, so try to consider taking some time off. Unplug yourself from all the hustling and all that social stress to recharge emotionally. Spiritual energy recovery. Spiritual energy is a unique force for action in all dimensions of our lives. It's the most powerful source of our motivation, perseverance, and direction. Tony Schwartz defines spiritual energy as the ability to live by our deepest values and to navigate through life purposefully. Lack of motivation to pursue a goal is largely a spiritual issue. If you lost motivation to work on your passion, then you probably need to revisit the reasons that made you start. Why did you start working on these things in the first place? You need to find a reason, and that reason must have value. As Nietzsche puts it, he who has a why to live for can bear with almost anyhow. This is how to recharge spiritual capacity on a professional level. On a more personal level, you have to find a reason for living, a reason for waking up in the morning. It could be anything, a passion, a goal that you want to accomplish. There are so much scripts to follow. If you want to try this for yourself, go on Facebook and ask 50 people about the same topic, and I guarantee that you will get almost 50 different responses. Life is very confusing. We tend to cling to others for roadmaps to navigate this complex reality. But the only way you could feel spiritually energized is by creating your own roadmap, your own judgments, and your own unique set of boundaries. As Viktor Frankl says, we must make our own meaning. It could be as difficult as a life mission, a contribution of some kind, or as simple as growing a healthy family environment for your kids and their kids. Oscillation is not only about recovery. So far we saw different ways to refuel your capacity on all four levels of energies. But when the demand of our daily lives is greater than our reserve, imbalance occurs. Therefore we need to balance the oscillatory equation by expanding our capacity to meet those demands. First, expanding emotional energy capacity. Emotional muscles such as patience, empathy, and confidence can be strengthened in the same way that we strengthen a bicep or tricep, going out of your current comfort zone and then retracting to recover. If you lack in confidence, you need to put yourself out there and do things that you've never done before, like talking to strangers, for example. Exposing your self-image to rejection, painful emotions, and harsh setbacks will ironically boost your sense of self-worth. It's the same as building muscles in the gym. Day by day you will build a solid structure for your emotional ecosystem. Little problems won't be bothering you anymore because you know deep down that you've been hardened by those experiences. Expanding spiritual energy capacity. Remember that values and goals can be renewed and they are meant to be renewed. That's how we keep making meaning out of life. If we achieve something big, that doesn't mean that we've made it. In many cases, that could possibly mean the beginning, a roadmap to something greater than our expectations. You've probably heard the old saying, life is a journey, not a destination. To be able to widen spiritual capacity, we must not only live up to our deepest values, but also expand by seeking out new goals to accomplish. As Viktor Frankl says, mental health is based on a certain degree of tension, the tension between what one has already achieved and what one still ought to accomplish. Expanding physical energy capacity. To protect your beloved ones, you must be capable of protecting yourself first. Your body's reaction time needs to be as fast as it could be when your life is at stake. So one of your goals should be to toughen up physically. A great way to build physical capacity, as cited in this book, is interval training. Interval training is a means by which to build more energy capacity and to tolerate more stress, but also to teach the body to recover more efficiently. It can take many forms such as sprinting, walking up stairs and down, bicycling, and even weightlifting, so as long as the effect is to rhythmically raise and lower heart rate. Expanding mental energy capacity. The plasticity of the brain. Researchers have found that the brain itself operates like a muscle, atrophying from disuse and increasing in capacity with active use, even in late life. Neurologist Richard Dresdak says that the brain is different from every other organ in our body. While the liver, the lungs and the kidneys wear out after a certain number of years, the brain gets sharper the more it's used. The best way to keep expanding our mental capacity is through continuous challenge, reading, learning new skills, teaching and getting taught ourselves. Assistant Professor of Psychology at Harvard Medical School, Marguerite Silver, adds on saying that every time you learn something new, it builds new connections to the brain cells. That way, if you do have a few changes, a few plaques and tangles associated with Alzheimer's, and a few brain cells become damaged, you still have a reserve because of all these additional connections you built. So loss of memory is clearly not considered a disease, but rather the failure to keep the mind engaged as we age. As you can see, performance, health and happiness are clearly grounded in the skillful management of these four dimensions of energies, and the most efficient way to manage this multi-dimensional energy capacity is through oscillation, going through periods of stress to expand your capacity, then recovering to heal and recharge. It's all about expansion and contraction. Fulfill these two parts of the equation, and you'll be able to experience the power of full engagement.